In this episode, we are going to speak about a wild story out of Albany just last month, where newscaster Greg Floyd sat down with a man named Lorenz Kraus, who confessed to murdering his elderly parents 8 years prior. Lance, this is a wild story, and we're going to go through this interview with Greg Floyd and Lorenz Kraus. How are you feeling about this story?
Well, I got to first hand it to the news broadcast reporter, Greg Floyd. He did a masterful job getting this confession out of Kraus. Also, great job by CBS 6 in Albany to air this and put it out there on YouTube. You can find it if you just search it on YouTube. But I am kind of floored by the whole thing. And as we're going to be going through this, I don't want anyone to think that you and I are qualified psychologists or have any sort of credentialed backup to breaking down this guy's psychological state, his mental state, but we can speak to what we've experienced in the past when we've had people come on and talk about being a victim of people like Kraus. And I think this is the first time that we've actually seen something like this happen in real time, when this reporter is talking to this individual about killing his parents, working into the actual confession. So I'm excited to go through it, but I'm probably going to have a lot of these like moments where I'm just like, what is happening? Because it is that unusual to have this happen again in real time.
So just for a little bit of background here on this story, sometime between July and September of 2017, Kraus, this fellow Lorenz Kraus, murdered his parents, strangled them, and you'll hear in the video that we're going to play in just a few minutes, you'll hear him detail that. So do want to mention, this is not for the faint of heart. So he had apparently spread rumors to his neighbors that the couple was going away. And so they went missing in 2017. And only recently, once in 2020, but even recently in 2025, that there was a wellness check called to check on the parents, Franz and Theresia Kraus. So they had been collecting some Social Security benefits that never stopped after they went missing. So this led to a search on the property and even some cadaver dogs in the backyard that hit on some potential graves. So apparently the afternoon where they discovered these potential graves, prosecutors and detectives were discussing how to move forward. And that's when Lorenz Kraus called the news station and asked to be interviewed himself. And he went down there and spoke to newscaster Greg Floyd for about a half an hour and was arrested in the parking lot after the conversation.
Right. So we're going to go through it with everybody. We're going to go through it together. Again, we will be sort of combing through all the details on our own and trying to make sense of it, and we're going to try to speak as responsibly as possible about this. So bear with us, because this is a story that we've never experienced before, and it's definitely a first-timer for us.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to break quick for commercial here, and we're going to be right back to play the interview between Greg Floyd and Lorenz Kraus. All right, we're back here to break down the interview between Lorenz Kraus and newscaster Greg Floyd, Lance.
It's going to be an interesting journey here. And I just want to preface this by saying he did confess on camera, but as recently as a news article from 6 hours ago, several news articles, he's pled not guilty. So I am not even sure. That's the first question I have when we start this conversation. Do we say alleged, or do we say that he did it? Because he confessed, bodies were found, but now it's not guilty, and I don't know the circumstances that go into that. So are we saying alleged? That's my first question.
If you're confused by the behavior of Lorenz Kraus, that will not be the first time here in this episode. So, okay, so let's play this interview.
All right, Lawrence, well, thanks for sitting down with us. We really appreciate it. We'll get to the statement, but first we want to talk about the more recent event, actually the prior events and now the more recent events. Take me back to the summer of 2017. What happened to your parents?
My mother wrote me a note, which the police must have now, describing her walking across Whitehall Road. I'm not Whitehall, Wolf Road, and she fell down on her face. And she had, when I saw her a week or so later, yellow and green, black and blue marks from this. And she wrote that down, and that was a situation that became a problem, because when elderly start to fall down, the time comes that they start to, beginning of the end. And my father also had cataract surgery, and he lost his vision to double vision, so he couldn't be he couldn't drive. So they were losing their independence and so forth. And my mother had a brother who had Alzheimer's, and my father had a sister who had Alzheimer's. They were both in nursing homes. My mother had a second sister who also had Alzheimer's. And they put you in a bed, they put catheters into you, they rip your teeth out to try to keep you, the whole 9 yards. So this is in the back of my mind.
So you didn't want to see them deteriorate and go through that, did you?
And I'll mention, the police know about my sister, and having to see my sister die from cancer. I was 16, she was 14. Go through 9 months or so of, the agony of a cancer patient.
Mm-hmm. So did you kill your parents as a mercy killing to put them out of their misery? You can be honest with us.
I know. I'll leave that for the statement that I put on your website.
The statement doesn't mention that.
I know.
The statement does not mention that.
Right.
I want to hear from you.
Yeah.
What did you do to your parents?
I buried them in their property.
So I just want to quickly say here that he's citing all of these bad things that have happened to his family and all of the conditions like Alzheimer's and how that runs in his family. This is not unusual for most families, though. So at first when I watched this, I was like, I kind of feel bad for him. It seems like all of these things are piling up, but the more we get into it, the more apparent it is that this is an excuse. This is him building that deliberate empathy for him. He wants this to be the reason why he did what he did, because things just were too much and he was going to do the best that he could as a son and a family member. And that's really offensive, especially to people who have experienced loss and experienced people in their family not doing well and having conditions, that there is an in-between, everybody. You don't have to just go to the extreme here. And that doesn't take away from what he did, which was very extreme.
Yeah, agreed. And I do just want to mention that what he said previously was that his sister Rosa died from cancer when she was 14 and Lorenz was 16. So undoubtedly that must have been tough on him and the entire family. This will come up a bit later as well.
You buried them in the backyard of that house in Albany.
Right.
At what point did they become deceased?
I need to see a calendar to sometime August 2017.
And did they die at your hand? That's the question.
Right. I'll have to leave it for that statement.
But that's not in the statement. And I think
Right.
it's important for people to know what happened to your parents.
Right.
They were your parents. You loved them. They were deteriorating. What did you do?
I will.
Don't tell me you're going to leave it to the statement, because it's not in the statement.
I know.
What did you do to your parents?
My goal is for the American people to recognize that there's 40 million boomers. They're all going to go through the same kind of problems. It affects all of us, and we need to widen up the law so that people can deal with these kind of problems in a humane way, in a whatever way that people can deal with. And I did my duty to my parents.
Okay, got to stop there. I did my duty to my parents. Yeah. There needs to be laws to account for this kind of thing. He's saying that he was right in doing what he did, and society and the laws are wrong.
Yeah. There's this gray area, right, where there's like assisted suicide and whether or not that is ethically and morally, acceptable and something that you can live with. But that's usually a supplied by somebody who's been trained in the field of medicine or science. It's usually somebody who's a doctor or has some sort of experience, I would imagine, in the medical field. He's not a scientist. He's not a doctor. He's not anybody capable of properly euthanizing another human being in a humane way. That's just not the case. So yeah, it's almost like he's trying to smoke and mirrors the whole situation by saying it's not him, it's society. And if we just had better systems in place, then we wouldn't have to do these things that we do. He's trying to, we've been talking about gaslighting. It's sort of like gaslighting. He's saying the system's broken, I had to take it into my own hands. But there's so much more to it. Also, I love how Floyd just gets to the point. He's just cutting through the BS, too. He's saying it's not in the statement. That's not what's happening here. We need to hear it from you. Don't refer to the statement.
Speaking of the statement, I actually couldn't find this online. I take it that it wasn't published because it was probably just unhinged, is my guess. I'm not trying to be funny. But there were some comments about the statement and how, I guess, anti-Semitic the statement was, and it doesn't mention that he killed his parents, so it is kind of irrelevant when we're talking about this story, in my opinion.
Good for whoever made the decision to not publish the statement, because you don't ever want somebody who is along the same train of thought as Lorenz Kraus to read that and see the interview and justify an action on their own because they have seen I don't know, he's trying to make himself a martyr.
Yeah, but instead he's facing multiple charges of second-degree murder and concealment of a human corpse.
Yeah. Don't publish it, don't make him a martyr, and don't make this actually mean something that it's not.
Right. What it is a incredibly interesting psychological case study. I don't know how else to put it.
So you ended their lives.
I won't.
You're saying that without actually saying that word. I want to hear you say that word. You ended their lives.
I have to
give them mercy. You're saying.
I have to plead my Fifth Amendment rights until I can disclose it with my statement there.
Did you have any concern that whatever you did was wrong?
I would never have done such a thing if I ever did it, knowing it's wrong.
So you believe what you did was right. You believe taking your parents' lives was the right thing to do for their sake.
If I did it, absolutely that.
But you did do it. You're saying to us that you did it.
There's a statement there that we'll deal with more later, if you want to know.
Lawrence, I appreciate that, and we'll talk about your statement, but show me where in this statement it says that you killed your parents. It doesn't. It doesn't talk about the fate of your parents here. You keep talking about the statement answering my question, but the statement does not answer my question. It's the question people want to know. And I think they need to hear it from you.
Yes, there's time for that.
And I think now's the time. Did you kill your parents to put them out of their misery?
My concern for their misery was paramount.
Mm-hmm.
It was a huge burden to have to face this coming up. This is a horrible situation.
Sure. So you alleviated that burden.
You're a good questioner. I have to protect my Fifth Amendment rights on this until the right time.
I'm not an attorney. I'm not an officer of the law. You don't have to say that to me.
Yes, but I mean, whatever I say here is going to be held against me elsewhere, right?
Of course, but you probably answer to a higher authority anyway in the long run. So I think you can tell us what happened. Did you kill your parents together at the same time in the same place? What method did you use?
All that kind of stuff I would answer later with that deal with the American people. But I'm not going to speak about such things like that.
But you have a chance to tell the American people right now.
I want their feedback on my statement. Then I can believe that I can tell the truth uninhibited. You
don't think you're going to get better feedback if you're honest with them? And tell us what happened?
I put things in the right order. They have to be in the right order. But it's very important that insofar as exculpatory material, the police have that statement from my mother regarding what happened to her, crossing the street out Wolf Road, falling down, And she also had a problem with, she mentioned she was getting lines in her eyes for some reason. And there was no, I don't know what that would be.
That was the prelude that helped set things in motion, you're saying. That started your parents' downhill trend, health-wise.
Yes, but also the letter from her to me said, do something. Or this you need to know this, in a way that was...
Your parents asked you to kill them or to take their lives in a merciful fashion?
I think they want me to take responsibility for things.
They asked you to take their lives, to do what they couldn't do?
Implicitly, but not explicitly.
So you were just granting their wishes?
My mother, after my sister died, my mother would give me these do not resuscitate things every few months. And she wanted to die, given her grief for my sister, her daughter.
And you loved your parents and you wanted to honor their wishes.
All right, I got to pause here again. A do not resuscitate does not mean that you want to die. You know,
Instantly?
That means that means if you're in a situation where you can't make a decision for yourself, perhaps, you know, then yes, you grant that permission to sort of pull the plug. What he is referencing after his sister died, his sister Rosa died in 1988, I believe. That's what he says anyway. So his mom would have been much younger, would not have been feeble at that time. And so he's referencing that moment back in 1988 when she was providing him, I guess, do not resuscitates, or had provided him that at various times since then. Once again, that does not mean she's ready to die or wants to die.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the circumstances. His sister probably suffered in the last few months or weeks of her life, and I'm sure the conversation happened where his mom said, if anything like this ever happens to me, do not resuscitate, after watching her daughter suffer. I mean, that's just a natural conversation that people are going to have when that happens to a family member. Hey, if this ever happens to me, or if it happens to you, what's your decision? Mine's do not resuscitate. It doesn't mean, like you said, the second I look sick, kill me. Like, that's insane. And he's almost smart enough. I wrote this down. He's almost smart enough to make this feel like he's winning this conversation. You know, like, I feel like if he was just a little bit smarter, he feels like, or you know that he thinks he's smarter than he is, because he's like very manipulative and smug, and he's very choosy about his words. And when Floyd sets him up by saying something that he could walk into and say a damning thing about him actually murdering his parents, he says, if I did do it, it would be, or something like that. He always uses if and all of that. So it's like this really kind of morbidly entertaining dance, watching these two go back and forth. Floyd's trying to catch him up and trip him up and, you know, catch him saying something. And Kraus just always uses that word if, and then comically references the Fifth Amendment. And Floyd's even saying, like, that I'm not a member of law enforcement, or we're not in a court. So he's almost saying, like, you called me, you called us, like, you need to you need to talk. And it feels, sorry, I'll wrap this up in 1 second. It feels like he wanted this to be his big manifesto Kevin Spacey in Seven moment, where he did this amazing thing, but all he did was just kill his parents for money. And he's just not that smart to pull it off.
You know, there's something special about our family that we can somehow read each other's minds. And so being things explicit isn't necessarily, you know, I could complete my grandmother's sentences for her, and she would say, well, you know. So, I mean, the context of all this became to bear on me.
Just another time out real quick. He's basically saying that he can read her mind. I mean, that's kind of what he's saying there. He's like, well, you know, we have an unspoken connection because we're family, and we can read each other's thoughts or finish each other's sentences, and I kind of knew.
Okay, sure, yeah. So you've got The Shining. You and your grandmother are they communicate on another level. That is also offensive to close-knit families. And we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsors, and now we're back to the program.
Did one parent, did your mom or your dad more so than the other, ask you to take their lives?
They didn't explicitly say that, but they made it clear that they were going downhill.
When it actually happened, when your parents died, did they know it was happening to them?
Oh, yeah.
And they knew it was at your hand?
Well, yes, no one else's.
Right. So they realized what you were doing to them as it happened.
Yes.
They knew that this was it for them, that they were perishing at your hand.
Yes. And it was so quick.
How did you do it?
Yeah, I can't talk about that.
Well, you've just told us that
Right.
it was at your hand.
Right.
Were there drugs involved? Was there
no.
a suffocation? You suffocated them? You suffocated your parents?
Yeah.
That was the best way to take their lives, through suffocation.
Basically.
Which parent did you suffocate first?
My father, and after he died, my mother put her head on his chest, and she was there for a few hours, and then I finished her.
And then what did you do? Did you bury them immediately?
No. I didn't know what to do after that. I was thinking what to do. It took me several days to realize I can't do this, I can't do that. Just bury them on the property, and it was wide open, sunlight. I remember my sister, she received either a gift of a lamb or a lamb was given to her upon her funeral, but that lamb showed up, and I put it on my mother's grave, and the police must have that now too.
You call it a grave? You bury them in the backyard, you see it as a grave?
Well, I bury them, and I put a thing around my mother's grave, and and I planted a peach tree next to her, and I put that there.
What did you think as you were doing it? As you were taking their lives? What was going through your head?
Not thoughts, action. Make sure it's done, and not fool around, not make a mistake. But I'm sure the police are going to say what an incompetent idiot I am on that. But
Did they both pass away peacefully? Did they struggle as you did it?
I would say the last minute, no. But they're I think my father died very quickly, surprisingly quickly. That shocked me. And then, the part with my mother, went quickly too.
Did you realize what you were doing, as righteous as you may have thought it was illegal? And
oh yeah.
You knew you were breaking the law. You knew you were...
Well, that's what I'm saying. We have to squeeze the law to fit the humans, not us, the humans to fit the law. And we have 40 million boomers. They're all going to suffer a horrible death, typically. My mother always... if somebody died in their home, she would say, great, the person died with their boots on, instead of going to a hospital and going through a meat processing factory kind of thing.
Again, I want to just give the reporter here, Greg Floyd, a round of applause for identifying so quickly what it was going to take to have him actually make that confession, and then sort of slow playing him into the greater confession. And he manipulated his ego. So that's why Kraus isn't as smart as he thinks he is, because his ego was the biggest chink in the armor that he had. And he uses his ego against him, which I thought was really, 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 really amazing. And Kraus wanted to tell he wanted this to come out. He has the emotions. He has the hand gesticulations. He's pausing and taking deep breaths like it's painful for him. We're supposed to feel bad for him because he put this lamb thing, this I guess like a a symbol that represented his sister as well on the grave, planted a peach tree. He wants this to be this beautiful moment.
Yeah. It seems he's got his keys in his hand throughout the entire interview. Just want to point that out. Yeah.
Like, is that like a safety blanket thing for him?
I think he just thinks like he's going to be in and out of there. I just got to do a quick spot on TV and I'll be on my way.
Just keep the keys handy. Yeah.
Children of World War II. My mother was born in 42. She was a toddler. She told me she would follow funerals behind the horse and wagon. This is the kind of world she grew up in. My father was at age 12 in a communist concentration camp for 3 years. So they had very serious lives, given the globe, the genocidal British geopolitics, as I call it. And so they were not fooling around on things. They were serious people.
When you were doing this, did you think about the financial ramifications, the fact that you would continue to take their government money?
Once that happens, then what do you do? The government is pissed because I took the Social Security money and gave it to people who were starving in the Philippines. Okay, then, be angry about that. But anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's theft. That's motive. Like, yeah, they're going to be angry at that because that's motive. And he said something like, when that happens, no, it didn't just happen. Like, your parents just didn't happen to die. You murdered them.
And said that it took a few hours in between your father and your mother. It took a few hours before you decided that you needed to finish her as well. But you're right. It's theft. The government's not angry because he gave, allegedly, I don't know if he did. The government's not angry about money being sent to starving people in the Philippines. If that's your money, you can do with it what you want. It wasn't his money. It was his parents' money that he obtained because he killed his parents. That's where I'm thinking the government has the anger.
Yeah, and I want to point out that he mentioned that his parents were born in Europe, and his father even spent time in a communist concentration camp. I can't say that that's true, but it does appear like Franz and Teresia were born in Yugoslavia and Germany, and I can't imagine escaping that situation in Europe in the 40s only to later be strangled to death by your son.
But the police know all the money that I have went to people to help them, thousands of dollars. I gave almost, not all of it away because there was still a lot left. But I gave away, I didn't play with the money. I gave it away. I didn't enrich myself.
Does that justify what you did?
No, but this is not a kill for money case, is important to say. I was helping people before that just fine, so it didn't, the issue of taking my parents' money for other purposes related to that doesn't fit. That's why the police, they had a theory going which we talked about on Tuesday, and they wanted to try to say that this was taking their money to give away to other people, but it was that other part is the primary situation.
Someone called that blood money.
Right, and I was giving it away.
But it's still blood money.
Well,
what is he talking about? Right.
Yeah, he's saying it's not bad theft because I gave it to people in the Philippines. So no one should be mad that I took money that wasn't mine.
That you killed
I gave
for.
it to people who needed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you kill to take somebody's money away, that's blood money. But if what was I supposed to do with this money? Again, I couldn't tell anyone. The government needs to have an office where you can say, this is something that happened, and here's how it happens, and they need to deal with these kind of problems in an open way. Everything in this country is hidden away. And this is a societal crisis. Again, 40 million people are going to deal with this, and maybe a multiple of that given their friends and family. So, I mean, it's a reality of human experience. And I just wanted to say, in 2020, there was this YouTube channel called Tribe of the Fox, and they did a video called The Mannerbunde. And they explain how in the ancient times, they had men who would do this for the elderly.
Okay, come on.
The ancient times.
Yeah, Mike cut some of these references as he goes through them. This guy, Lorenz, he actually was a valedictorian. I believe he was a poli-sci major, too, in college. Siena University, I believe it was, that he graduated from. So not a dumb guy. Certainly political, as you can tell by some of the things that he says. Certainly not here to point fingers at one side or another. As we said, Kraus is very confused, and the more he goes on, the more that's like really obvious to tell. But just wanted to mention again that probably going to cut some of the things where he's promoting these absurd conspiracy theories.
Of course, the ancient Greeks always believed in dying on the battlefield rather than dying, in a bag of bones, like a bag of bones. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, culturally, America is totally different.
They didn't die on a battlefield, though. It sounds like they died in their beds with a pillow over their faces.
No, but you could put it that way.
I mean, it wasn't a battlefield.
Well, right. It's not. I mean, the preference of people of the ancient Greeks was to die on the battlefield rather than die so infirm that you had nothing.
Was it a pillow that you used?
No.
What did you use to suffocate them?
For my father, my hand. For my mother, a rope.
So you strangled her?
Yeah, that would seem better.
It was strangulation, not suffocation?
Well, it's the same. No, denial of oxygen.
Okay.
But also blood circulation.
So you cut off the oxygen to both of them. That was your method?
Yeah.
Okay. Now that this has come to light and the police started investigating, and do you have any regrets?
I did the right thing for them based on the situation. I did my duty to them as a son. And that's everything fell into place. I don't know how it happened that it all fell into place, but it did. And so no, I don't have. It's a horrible situation to be in. One does one's duty, and one is done. The issue of regrets, I can't say this. It's a regrettable experience, a regrettable situation, and of course, life is horrible. It has horrible moments in life. But that's that.
I just want to make sure I have it correct, because I'm a journalist and facts are important. You used your a single hand to kill your father?
Right.
Putting it over his nose, and you choked him?
Yeah.
Okay. And you did the same with your mother, but with a rope? You choked her with a rope?
No. Just a rope.
Right. I'm sorry, but I meant you choked her with a rope, though, instead of your hand?
Right.
Okay.
I love him.
Are you on any medications today?
No. Well, no.
Just in case it wasn't clear enough, we're going to go over it again because facts are important. I mean, he even makes him show him his hand. So he's a single hand. You choked your father with a single hand. I mean, it's about as detailed as it can get at this point.
Yeah, as far as sort of getting this confession from Lorenz, it was clear through the first around 10 minutes of the interview that he did not want to confess directly. He, was sort of dancing around it, but now he's there, and Floyd really pulled it out of him.
Totally, and then he reinforces it. So just to be clear, gets the actual the mechanism of which hand he was using. Great work.
Oh, no.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Is your mind clear? And
I'm just a little sleepy, but I'm trying to keep my eyes open, but that's okay.
Okay, but you have no mental disabilities that are affecting what you're saying here today?
Correct.
You're confident in what you said and clear of mind as you say all this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would appreciate. I hope that you can put this on YouTube, the whole thing.
I'm sure we'll put this on.
Be a big celebrity.
And are you ready to face the
No problem,
consequences now
Lorenz.
with the police and the authorities?
Yes, but I would like the American people to also read my statement so that everybody can have something to appeal to on this.
Sorry, no one's going to read it because it goes nowhere.
Yeah. And the fact that he's promoting it and saying, I hope the American people will read this, the more you say that, dude, the less chance it's going to get published in any form so someone can read it, because no one wants those words out there. No one wants to encourage people to do what you did. And stop
Right.
saying the American people, like we've all been hanging on his every move. I didn't know who he was until a week ago.
Right. No, he does seem like he wanted this interview because he thinks he's going to get people on his side after voicing all this. Yeah.
Yeah.
My statement is I'm not really concerned about the police or the courts or anything. There's something much bigger in life, and we have to deal with the big things in life.
Okay. But again, just to be certain, in 2017, you took your father's life.
Correct?
And then moments later, or a short time later, you took your mother's life on that same day.
Right. No, well, see, that's the thing. It was late at night, and it was like late evening on one day into early morning night.
Okay. So within hours of each other.
Right.
What did you do between the taking of your father's life and the taking of your mother's life?
I'm trying to remember, because there was, I don't remember.
Did you sit with your mother? Were the three of you together in one
Well,
room?
before they died, my father was here, my mother was here, and I told them what happened to me and my sister after she died. And my sister died in the house too, because when she died from the cancer. But she died in May of 1988, and then in that fall I was doing my 11th grade now then, and there was I had to do a paper in a big test, so I did an overnighter to do that test, and then tried to do a second overnighter to finish that paper or something, and I crawled into bed at like 2:45 in the morning, and sometime then after I popped out of my body, and I started floating up to the ceiling. I saw the nooks and crannies, and I acknowledged that the nooks and crannies of the ceiling, and then the whole world disappeared, and I was in this big black void, and it was rushing by, and then I saw my sister in a doorway in profile. Anyhow, after that, so it was like a near-death experience kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I told my parents about that experience, and I told them, go find Rosa. My sister's name was Rosa, and so my father just died so quickly.
Okay, this is a really interesting part. What he's describing here isn't a near-death experience. It's commonly referred to as an out-of-body experience is what he's describing and what he claims that he had. And in that state, I think it's been said, I don't know if you believe it or not. It's obviously a universal mystery that has not been proven. But people say they can speak with, deceased loved ones and things like that if they're able to achieve this out-of-body experience. So he's saying that I saw Sister Rosa, while having this out-of-body experience. And to me, I know that there is some kind of life after death after that. So in his mind, him telling his parents that before strangling them is supposed to be comforting to them. But to them, I can't imagine how terrifying that would be.
Yeah. And he's sleep deprived. He said he was sleep deprived. He said he was up late. He'd been studying for the test. He's sleep deprived. He had a lucid dream. That's what it is. I mean, there's nothing magical about it.
Right. I mean, he has already stated in these 20 minutes that we've played that he had an out-of-body experience and that he's telepathic. So he does believe that he has special powers.
And I told him, find Rosa. And, that's that.
And then again, just take me through, after your mother died, how long was it before you buried them? Approximately.
2 or 3 days, actually.
So your parents' deceased bodies were in your house with you for 2 or 3 days.
Right.
And then you decided you had to do something to cover up your crimes, or to properly bury them and send them on their way?
Right. I mean, I needed to, basically, I had to bury them.
Was the burial to cover up your crime? You didn't want to be found out.
Right, of course. I mean, what to do?
I would love to get somebody on who can break down his body language, how he's gesticulating. He gesticulates. He uses his hands when he doesn't really need to sometimes. When he says, like, how long was it? And he says 2 or 3 days. He does these weird things with his hands. And this is one of the few times where he's using his feet, too. He's kind of got the jitter thing going with his feet. And he's used the word basically a lot when it's not basically. It's like, no, you did bury them. You didn't basically bury them. You didn't basically wait around the house. Like, what happened? So I'd love to get like a linguist or somebody who can analyze body language too, because something happened in that period of time when he's using the word basically and he's doing weird hand gesticulations that he's not saying.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it seems like to me like he is trying to explain his point of view to the normies out there, and he's having trouble explaining how, elevated his thinking was.
Exactly, yeah. And we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsors, and now we're back to the program.
The thing to do just occurred to me. Oh, she can fit here, and he can fit there. And then just do it, and it was done. And, that's that.
Have you lived with fear of being found out all these years?
I struggle to do other things with my life to try to make something great out of it. Because if that's what I know, that they would not want me to rot away to death in prison over this. And I have a duty to everyone to make the best out of my life, and in the end, do what's best for the people of Germany, really. I call it being a Volkssaver. It took me years to understand all this, but I learned a lot in the last eight years that I never knew before, and I learned, self-educated in so many ways, so I did not, the issue of being caught is, I was able to buy time to solve huge problems. And that's worth it in many ways. To the American people, to me, and to them, to their legacy, to their,
Do you think people are going to accept this rationale?
They probably won't.
And feel for you?
What they need to feel is for their own parents. They're going to face the same problems, and they're going to have to find solutions ahead of time, or else they're going to end up like me. That's the reality.
Are you telling other people that when their parents start ailing, they should take their lives?
They have a duty to their parents to bring them comfort at the end of life when they believe they need to.
But again, just to be clear, you took both your parents' lives.
Yes.
And you realize that you're probably going to face the criminal consequences.
Oh, of course.
I mean, you're probably going to be arrested and charged. And
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're going to. It's a process. You have to go through the process. How it will come out at the end, I don't know. But to influence that process, I would beg the American people to read that statement.
All right. Lawrence, thank you for being with us.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
This is a super interesting part to me.
You good, Stone? I think we covered all the bases. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say?
The close-ups of him here are kind of terrifying, honestly.
Yeah.
What?
I'm calling it a manifesto. What would you call it?
A statement to the American people. Is that what I wrote? That's what you wrote down?
I wrote statement to the public. Because you said that.
Yeah.
You said that to me.
Right. Yeah. a statement to the public. What was the other option to call it?
Manifesto.
Not a manifesto.
Just a statement to the public. It is a bit rambling, a bit hard to follow.
Right. That's why I say I need more conversations over this.
But do you think people are going to want to talk about this or the fact that you took your parents' lives?
Right, they're going to talk about that. That's what they want to know. It's just the reality. So, I mean, they'll, it's a horrible situation to be in. Many other people are going to face it.
But are other people going to take the same actions you took?
Probably not, because they don't have the same kind of sense of duty to their parents as I did. Duty is I owe it to you to do it, as opposed to right and wrong, the law, etc. These are different ways of being. And of course, the law in this country does not allow for this way of being.
But are you truly confident that's what your parents wanted?
I know my parents are harsh in certain situations, and if my mother could see where she was going, she would never want that.
But you said they didn't expressly ask to be killed.
Right.
Are you sure you did what they wanted?
If my mother could see where she was going, she would never want that. Doesn't that conflict with what he was saying earlier?
Yeah, I think he meant if she could see where she was going health-wise, then she wouldn't want to go down that road. She would.
Okay.
I think it's the whole do not resuscitate thing.
Okay.
They wanted to be done?
I think that they would have increasingly wanted me to help them if their situation got any worse.
So that day in what you think was August of 2017, what made that day the day?
I think it was a colder evening and the windows were closed. So it was not a, it was just no noise or something like that.
So you were safe from detection? Is that what you're saying?
Of course. Because it was a summer, right? It's usually hot and windows are open, but it was kind of cold that period.
So because it was a little chillier that night, you decided to take your parents' lives?
That note she gave me was sometime in May or June, I think. When she said she fell, it was May or June or something like that. So this has been, my father already told me he has double vision. He had a hearing aid. He couldn't hear anymore. His eyes were going. He couldn't drive. My mother, I knew, was not using her turn signals properly. So they were losing their independence and even awareness of the world because of, breakdown.
Most people, I think I'm safe in saying, would not take their parents' life because they couldn't use their turn signals properly.
That's a very good point, but again, it's not just that. It's one marker of decline, and again, she had a brother and a sister who were going through Alzheimer's. By then, one died, and her brother was going to die, and maybe 2 years later, and he was in a terrible situation. So, the other aunt of mine was I think even in an even worse situation because of Alzheimer's. But I never visited her because women tend to want to be remembered for their beauty when they're young. So I didn't visit her for that reason, but I also never knew enough to visit where she was or anything like that.
But again, you feel like it was your role to, some might call it playing God, deciding on their lives. It was fair for you to do that?
This is, if you don't mind pausing real quick.
If the decision is going to be made.
I said before that this is one of the more interesting parts to me because Greg Floyd wraps it up. He's like, is there anything else? Like, thank you very much for your time. And the camera zooms in. It looks like the cameraman or the camera person is like fiddling around with the tripod, like maybe starting to break stuff down because we're getting close-ups of his feet, of Kraus's feet, and then it kind of goes back up to his face. And then it just pulls back to the camera, to the two shot of them again, because they're just get right back into it. It's just, it just speaks to his, I don't know, selfishness, his arrogance in this. It was done.
Right. Yeah, and he did mention that, in addition to the manifesto, which is rambling, and he kind of agrees, but he was like, it needs conversation to go along with it. So it seems like that's why he wanted to come on the news, just kind of explain this manifesto that makes no sense. Also, just want to praise Greg Floyd's patience. There's just no way I would have had the patience to be there with him for this long. It's so frustrating to watch, even here, like a couple of weeks later.
And he's so articulate too, because when he says that thing about how she was confused using her directional signals on the car, I mean, my defense mechanism is to laugh, because that's my defense mechanism. Like, what do you mean? No one kills their parents because of that. But Greg Floyd keeps it together here and very articulately is like, I'm pretty sure people aren't going to kill their parents because they have forgotten how to use their directional signal.
It's going to be a plain God decision. And truly, we lived through this COVID thing. Cuomo is, there's probable cause to arrest Andrew Cuomo for thousands of deaths, because it's on the record that he sent people into nursing homes for a certain reason, and there was reports that people died as a consequence. So that's probable cause. But
Andrew Cuomo did not put his hand around someone's neck. Andrew Cuomo did not put a rope around someone's neck.
That he would be culpable of criminally negligent homicide. I think that's.
So what are you guilty of? Are you guilty of murder?
You could say age-related homicide or something like that, but it's not in the law. But it should be. Somehow it should be. And maybe it will be. And maybe if it's accepted at some point, because there's 40 million people, they'll want it to be accepted, this will blow over. And I'm willing to make restitution to the family. That's why I mentioned that other type of legal system.
Lawrence, this is not going to blow over.
I know.
You killed your parents.
There is that situation, but to me it's not very important. It's politics is subject to change. Everything is negotiable. Donald Trump has proven that everything is negotiable in this country. And if you have a good idea and you can help people, you can get a better outcome.
Did you ever kill anyone else?
No way.
Did you ever commit physical harm to anyone else?
No.
This was it? Just
right.
Your mother and your father?
Yep.
No one else in your family ever suffered at your hand?
No.
Okay, just wanted to check.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Lawrence.
Lawrence, can I ask you a question? One of the neighbors told us on the scene that your parents were under the impression that you were going to take them on a trip. Did you tell them that you were going to take them on a trip before you killed them?
No, but I asked my mother if she wanted to go with me for a ride to Grafton Park. We'd like to go there.
I think they told people that they were possibly moving to Germany.
That's what I said.
You said that?
Yeah.
You said that to people, not your parents.
Right.
So that was
people ask me, where are my parents? I tell them, because my mother's from Germany, and my father was born in Yugoslavia, and then after they could escape communism, they went to Germany, and then my father came to this country, and then my mother in the 50s.
But there were neighbors who said that they had been told by your parents, we think we're going to move to Germany. Are they mistaken? Are the neighbors remembering that incorrectly, or could your parents have said that?
They could have said that.
Could they have known something was coming?
Possibly.
You ever give them the impression that maybe you would just move them somewhere?
No.
No, okay.
That's news to me, to be honest.
Okay, all right. I think we're done.
Okay.
Thank you, Lawrence.
I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for talking to us.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, if you can make that all available on YouTube, even on a private website for me, so I can have it
Trust
on
me,
record.
it will be available.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Even on a private website, make that available. Like, what is he thinks he's not going to be in jail? He's just going to have a private website available to him to view this interview whenever he wants from the comfort of his home.
And share it.
Yeah.
Well, it's all going to blow over. So this will blow over.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I know he does reference current President Donald Trump in that last bit that we played there, but just before we jump to conclusions and point fingers at sides and things like that, I do want to say that he actually ran for president in 2020 in the state of New Hampshire as a Democrat. He did send like direct messages to Donald Trump in 2016, sort of seemingly trying to help him along with some of his campaign ideas. And then I think Donald Trump wasn't enough for him in 2020. And it's very clear, apparently, when you look at his presidential campaign and I guess the website and the blog that he would post to, how extreme and anti-Semitic his views are. So obviously this campaign, well, maybe not obviously, but this campaign didn't get off the ground.
Yeah, I have a hard time trying to figure out what his motivation was in running for president, because it does seem like, hey, maybe he ran for president as a Democrat to take votes away from other Democrats to get more votes for the party that he's actually supporting. So he's going into the Democratic Party to disrupt it. But then his message is clearly not in alignment with the overall Democratic message. It's about hate. It's about anti-Semitism, and it's very polarizing. So I don't know. He's putting himself out there because I think that he thinks he's got much more important things to say. And you're right. Before we're jumping to any sort of like political conclusion, he did mention Donald Trump, but he kind of was technically correct in his statement where he said Donald Trump has shown that everything is negotiable. I mean, depending on what is being negotiated, what he's talking about, and what's happened, this presidency has shown that you can just simply say no, and there's really no repercussions. I don't know if that's a negotiation tactic or not, but
he did say other true things in regards to, his parents getting old. Like that is a situation like, you don't want to see. That's disturbing, things like that. So yes, he did say some accurate things at times, but then just went off the rails like a sentence later. And just a little more specifics here on his 2020 presidential campaign. He was looking to break the country into 4 regions in order to break the control of the deep state, British agents, Rhodes scholars, and the Jews. So that was his platform.
Very much out on his own island with that one. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure there are some people that are kind of, they have their interest piqued by that sort of rhetoric, but probably not something that's going to take you very far in a presidential election at that time.
All right, and we're going to play this follow-up interview that Greg Floyd had with Lorenz Kraus, and this was in jail. This was after the story had already gone viral.
Thank you for seeing us again, Lawrence. Since you told me yesterday that you killed your parents, do you feel a sense of relief today about that?
Not any extra relief. No, not at all.
The world knows what happened now? That doesn't...
I mean, that does help, I think. I'm glad that people know about my statement. That's important to me.
But I think people out there care about your parents and what happened to them.
Yes.
Can we just go through that again very quickly? That night that you decided to take their lives, did you know that day, the day before, when did you know that was the time to do this?
My father laid back and was ready. He knew. I just want to say a message that there's a legal defense type of thing, and then there's a political defense. And the most important law in this country is New York State ratification law, which says that the people have the power to reassume the powers of government whensoever it is necessary to their happiness. And one of my goals was to create a board of trustees for New York State. And to create that initial trustee, someone needs to know what to do. So I'm making the claim that I'm the initial trustee of the New York State Board of Trustees, and they would have prosecutorial immunity. And so I appeal to that as having prosecutorial immunity for this case.
It's pretty much a certainty that's not going to happen. You also talked about wanting to be tried under German law.
Well, ancient German law, yes.
Is that still something you're looking for?
I would ask for it. There's nothing wrong with asking. I mean, you never know if you'll get a yes. You can get a yes. And this country is unstable right now. You don't know what could break up. And I do think the country should break up into pieces to make it better for everyone. Even the Washington Post suggested that.
The court of public opinion seems to say that they're not happy with what they heard from you yesterday, that they think it was a cold-blooded crime. Do you understand people thinking that way?
I'm glad you gave me that feedback. We all are getting old. We're all going to need help, and we're all going to have to decide how to deal with these kinds of problems. And with 40 million boomers getting into that stage of life, they need their options open, and their families need their options open.
But who are you to decide, other than being their son? But is that decision up to you? Can you play God?
It's so creepy how like smiley he gets when he's asked that question.
Yeah, he's even got a posture about him that's like almost puffing his chest out. He's looked excited at the beginning of this conversation, and he probably was excited that he had the chance to follow up the interview after he's been arrested.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I'm giving him some credit here for trying to get tried under ancient German law. He, like he says, he can ask. I encourage him to ask. Yeah. Also, like, I get it. Like, there are 40 million boomers, as he's repeated several times, that will be going through or might be going through something like this. But what is the precedent that you're setting if you set some sort of law in action saying that you can take the lives of somebody who's getting up there in age and you've determined that they're not going to be able to live their best life or they're declining? So once the boomers are done, then who's next? Like, where's the precedent? Where does it stop before we're just like arbitrarily judging that people are too old and they can't drive properly, so we get to end their lives?
Yeah, I mean, bingo. I mean, it's a big problem. I'm sure we would move, if that was granted, I'm sure we would move into other populations that are legally able to be murdered.
Yeah. He brings up earlier, the other interview, he brings up the ancient Greece, the ancient Greek, the way that, like, that's ancient. That's why it's called ancient, because things have progressed to something I would imagine to be a little bit more humane and sensible. You
can do your duty to your parents as they give you feedback, information, etc. And so it's really not a decision of God. It's whether it's a matter of what kind of lives are you trying to give your parents under grave circumstances that will be coming. If somebody falls and then ends up in the hospital, they're in like a machine that will just process them along, and you will have no way to recapture control, to get control of your own life again.
But they weren't in a hospital. They weren't hooked up to a machine.
Right.
Their lifeline was you, and you snuffed out their lives.
You have to understand that the end was coming, and the world starts to go. You have to decide when your time is
You
up.
have to understand.
But did they decide, or did you decide?
They were giving me hints to this effect.
And a hint's enough to go
telepathic
and decide
hints.
to take a life?
It was information like a plea that this is the beginning of the end for them.
Well, it was the end for them because you made it the end for them.
Okay, I'll have to keep. I think.
What can you tell us about your parents? What kind of people were they? Your mother and your father?
My father was more. What my mother said: do whatever you want as long as you do good in school. And so I sort of measured myself as, is what I'm doing good for school or not? And usually that kept me on track to being doing good in school. And my father was not so much important. Sometimes he would say, "Oh, you don't have to take that test." Or,
were you not as close with your father?
I was close with them in different ways. I wouldn't say that I was not as close with my father. I always felt closer to my father, I think.
Why did you decide to kill your father first?
Yeah, I can't talk about that. I'll listen to that advice of the lawyer.
After you took their lives, it's been 8 years. What have you been doing?
He just kind of like
years?
references a lawyer off screen there, I guess his attorney.
Trying to make good on their lives by trying to, I tried to start a vote saver philosophy, which never existed before. And I think it's very important to civilization to try to start a new civilization, to recultivate the German people, because after World War II, they were totally wiped out culturally by the United States. Everything was destroyed, and then they were basically Americanized. But I understood that the essence of German culture is folk teleology, which is a philosophical term.
Don't you think your parents might have rather continued to live as opposed to you helping German culture?
My parents always believed in doing their duty. My mother always said, I do this out of duty to you. It's not as concerned with love and life as you might think it is.
Was it a loving relationship you had with your parents?
Not in a loving, I wouldn't characterize it as loving the way you might say it in America. It was harsh.
It was harsh.
Oh yeah, as a kid, it was very harsh.
So was any of the decision to take their lives in retribution for that?
No.
That the fact that you had a harsh upbringing?
No.
We're done.
Okay. Sorry. Sorry. All right, thank you.
Okay, so they cut the audio here and there's a little more video, but I'm pretty sure that was his lawyer there off screen saying, don't say any more, because he essentially just took out the possible defense for himself of, oh, my parents were abusive and that's why he did it. Seemed like he was getting close to saying that was the truth, but then he says, no, actually that wasn't it. And then the lawyer's like, all right, we're done.
Yeah. Right, because even if he did have an abusive childhood or not, like even if he was making that up, all of a sudden he's been caught on camera at his own free will saying that this is the case. So it just, absolutely, you're right, it screws up any sort of defense, because now it's just this whole other element. This probably did screw up the defense. Like he probably spoke a little too much right there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, once again, great job by Greg Floyd and CBS 6 out of Albany. Big thanks to them for use of the video. It's a really compelling story. I couldn't look away from it, Lance, when I first saw this story. I watched that entire interview with my jaw on the floor. And I couldn't believe it. There's so many aspects of it, and I'm glad we went through it in this way, but so many aspects of it that I just felt like needed commenting. So thanks for listening to all of this, everyone who made it through.
Yeah, for sure. And I was left with such a feeling of like unease when I first watched it that I felt like I needed to go back and watch certain parts of it again. And I was surprised when I went back and watched it again how bad I felt for him. Not because because I have empathy, because I feel bad that he is in this position that he believes for whatever reason he did the right thing, or he wants to improve society or some sort of like rebuilding of culture. It's just this huge, massive thing in his head. And I just feel bad that he's got this entirely confused outlook on the world and on people and on societies, and isn't able to hone in his own beliefs. And when it's challenging to him, he ends up using an excuse about his parents' declining health and kills his parents. It's just so confusing. I end up feeling bad for the whole situation.
Yeah, there's a lot here on this one.
A ton. Yeah.
A lot of talking points here for all this, and certainly, you can look at taking the money as motive. After listening to him for over half an hour here, it's hard to imagine him functioning with some kind of job that paid him money during that time after he killed his parents until now. So it seems like he was probably just using that money to live, in my opinion. But,
Well, he even says it, that he gave the money away, but not all of the money. And he even says there was a lot of it left. So he's using the money to live.
Yeah.
But he's got this like weird, like spiraling way of thinking. He's using the money for good, but I need to use it for me so I can use the money for good. Or is he just lying? And I don't know. Maybe he didn't send any money to, starving people.
Right. Yeah, I mean, certainly no guarantee that wherever he sent that money was like a reputable avenue anyway, or if he did that at all. I mean, we don't know. We can't really take his word for it. We do know that he bought a couple of trees and planted them near the graves of his parents in his backyard. I wonder how he was able to dig those graves and bury his parents without any neighbors seeing. I don't know how big the property is or how, shaded or whatever those areas were, but apparently the police noticed the trees and, thought it was a little weird.
Yeah. Yeah. He also kind of writes off the whole process of that because Greg tries to press him on that a couple of times. And when he gets to the part where he's saying that he went through the actions of digging a grave, he just says, and that's that.
Yeah.
So he skips over like the details of, well, how deep was it? How long did it take you?
Yeah. Yeah. He did that a couple times. He said, and that's that.
And that's that.
Like he was trying to put a button on the point. I don't know if it was just, he was worried to go into anything further for legal purposes, or, he was worried that it was just going to make him look rough if he did. I don't know, but probably both was true no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah. Something there that he wasn't saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is a wild story. So we have reached out to newscaster and journalist Greg Floyd. So hopefully we can get him on. Love to interview him, just kind of talk through this story with him. I don't know what limitations he would have legally as far as recounting his story. But again, all of it's on video right there on YouTube, as Lorenz was hoping. So I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have any limitations at all. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see if he can do an interview. Also, it might be interesting to speak with some kind of forensic psychologist to kind of go through some of these actions. So definitely let us know what you think. Place a comment on Spotify or YouTube. Let us know if you want to hear more of this story or not. We appreciate you listening.